friends, it's Marie. Welcome back to my channel. This week I'm going to be sharing some videos featuring Kindred stamps, and I'm loving this legendary stamp set. Now, I made a card in my previous video, and here's the card. If you want to go check that out, I'll have it linked below. And today I'm going to make another card using this same stamp set. So I remember this character and these characters from when I was a kid, so I just thought when they came out with this stamp set I needed to have it, and I have to build some cards with it. So I have a few family members that may be getting some of these cards, so if you're watching, I hope this doesn't spoil the surprise, but I can't wait to send these out to you. So I am stamping this out with my Brutus Monroe Detail Raven Black ink. Now this is an ink that will be permanent once it's heat set. So I've got my characters stamped out here, and I've also stamped a few hearts. I'm going to be doing some coloring on these images. Now I'm using my alcohol markers, and these are Stylefile markers, so they're a little bit cheaper of a brand than Copics. They've been working for me. I am looking into getting into collecting more alcohol markers, so I'm looking at the different options out there because I have a handful right now, and I'm loving the different combinations that I'm using, but I'm feeling like I need more colors. I need to branch out and get a little bit more variety, so I'm kind of looking into that. Anyway, so the way I do my basic coloring is I start with my lightest color, go with a mid-tone color, and then a dark color, and then I go back to my lighter colors and blend that all out. So I'm working with some Craft Perfect smooth white cardstock, and this is a really great cardstock for alcohol markers because it's so smooth. You can get a really great blend with those markers, and it just makes it really easy. So I did hit these characters with my heat tool before I went coloring with them because I did stamp them several times. I didn't want that ink to smudge, and I think I missed the one boy's eye because it did smear a little bit as I was coloring over it, so he kind of got a little bit of a black eye, but you can't see it very well, and I think the recipient's just gonna like the card anyway, at least I hope so. So I went with it, but just make sure you can hit it with your heat tool a little bit longer than I did if you want to kind of avoid that problem. So I am trying to color this girl here. I've shown how I colored the boy in my previous video if you wanted to go back and check that out. So I'm just showing coloring the girl in this video today. She has sort of a bluish purple trim to her dress if you look on photos, but I didn't have that color in my stash, so I'd put down a really light blue, and then I went over it with a light purple, and it kind of gave me the color I was looking for. So you can get creative with your markers and kind of mix colors and blend them together to get what you're looking for. And then I'm just coloring out the other elements of this character with some really simple coloring. I'm just adding maybe one or two colors and blending them together. Since these characters are very detailed and kind of small, it's hard to do a lot of shading, so I like to keep my coloring simple, put a little bit of dark around the edges of each section, and then blend it out with a lighter color. You still get really great results. I think these characters are so super cute. I love them, and so it's fun to color them. And you don't have to worry about doing any professional kind of shading because I am not a professional at all. I like to color and I like to go back to my tried and true combinations with my markers, and that's what I seem to like to do best. So like I said, I'm gonna try to branch out and get some more colors for my collection and see if I can find some new combinations that I like to work with. I also really need some skin tone because this is basically the only skin tone colors I have is this lighter peach and then this darker rose beige, which is a pinkish brown. So I need more skin tones because obviously we know there's more than one skin tone. So that's another thing I need to look into for my coloring. So I'm also going on with her hair, and I love coloring hair. The flicking motion you get with these brush markers, they really do great for hair. I like to start again with my lightest color and just kind of flick on some color, and then go back with my darker colors, add some color where it would be darkest, and then blend it back out. So she's got blonde hair, so I'm using a really light yellow, and then a slightly darker yellow, and then my darkest yellow, which is really, in Stylefile markers, just called yellow. So my darkest shade is actually yellow. The other two shades are really a lighter shade of that yellow. So I'm just blending that out, kind of making her hair look blonde, and I thought it was really fun to color. So after I got all of these colors, I went ahead, I fussy cut them out. Y'all know I hate fussy cutting, but I do it because I love the look, so it's kind of a necessary evil in my book. Anyway, here is my character. She's all colored. I went ahead and colored that other guy, and I cut them out. So here are my little pieces. They're so adorable, ready to be slapped on a card. And so let's go ahead and build the background. I've gone ahead and I've taken my Altenew caps bold alphabet dies, and I've cut out these words. I've also used my Brutus Monroe lowercase alphabet dies to cut out the word hey, so I'm going to spell out hey listen. And if you guys know the characters at all, that might be familiar to you. I've also gone ahead and cut out the word listen 3 times. So I've got 3 of each letter here, and I'm going to stack them up and glue them together. I did this because I wanted a little bit more dimension on these letters, but I didn't want to use a ton of foam adhesive. And I think using your paper, cutting it out several times, stacking it up and gluing it together gives it a really sturdy. It gives you a sturdy letter, and it's not going to sag or anything by having gaps in your foam adhesive, and it saves on a little bit of your foam adhesive because we know that's not really cheap stuff. So wherever I can save on it is a win. And then on my top layer, I'm using some of this gold by Tonic. It's Craft Perfect Tonic, and I really liked that gold with the green because I thought it went with the whole theme of the characters here. I am using Linda Israel's ruler once again. I really should just permanently link to her in my description because I've been using her ruler a lot lately. If you want to check out her channel, go over to Linda Israel. She's amazingly talented and you're going to love her. Anyway, I used her ruler to kind of mark out a straight line so I could know where I want to put my letters and where I want to ink blend my grass. I am ink blending some grass. I'm doing some green on green here. I've got my green background, and I'm going to ink blend a little bit of grass using this Brutus Monroe grass stencil. So I'm just doing a little bit of color here. I'm not getting crazy with the ink blending today because I am using a colored cardstock. You can do some really fun ink blending on colored cardstock, kind of make a spotlight effect or ink blend around the edges, make the edges darker. I'm just ink blending on a little bit of grass here. I thought that would be really fun to have in the background of my letters, kind of going along with the theme of these characters. So I'm using some Mowed Lawn Distress ink. Now these are not oxides, these are just the regular good old distress inks, but that's what I have and that's what I'm working with, and I really love them. So I'm gonna see what my letters look like here against my grass, and I'm really loving that background. I think it adds something a little bit special to the whole card and a little bit more interesting. So I did go ahead and ink blended on some more grass. I did another layer. I just shifted this stencil a little bit. You can also flip it over and use the other side and get the reverse image of the grass if you don't want them to be too similar. I didn't think about that. Now that I think about that, I think maybe it would have been a good idea, but I'm still happy with the results of my ink blending here, and I really love how it turned out. So I'm going to have a darker layer in front and then that lighter layer in the back, and I think it just adds a little bit more fullness to that grass. We want a really grassy field that everybody's going to be standing in, right? So I'm using my Brutus Monroe glue here. I really have no rhyme and reason between the glues I choose. I've got my Brutus Monroe and I've got my Nouveau Deluxe. Those two work fantastic. They are both great glues that I can recommend. I just go with whatever one I grab at the time, so you're gonna see me in my videos using them interchangeably. I did grab the Brutus Monroe one here because it's got that fine tip applicator on it that I really love for putting just a tiny bit of glue behind my die cuts and things. And I don't really need it for these big letters, but I did glue down the hey, and so it was really helpful with those really tiny die cuts, and I just stuck with that glue for these big letters. So you can see I'm using my, Linda's ruler again to kind of space out my letters. So The way I like to do this is I'm putting my first letter, I'm putting my last letter, and then I'm kind of layering the other ones in between and just making sure that they are evenly spaced. And the reason I put my first and last ones down first is that I can keep it in this designated area that I want it to go. I'm not going to go too far to the left or to the right. I'm going to get it centered. So that's really another tip for you if you're trying to get all of your letters spaced out evenly. I think using a ruler is always a great way to go. Sometimes I skip that and then my letters turn out crooked and it bothers me later. So I really need to get in the habit of actually just using the ruler. You could also use a T-square ruler and line it up on the side as well and make sure that everything is square and straight. So I am going ahead with these little hearts. I'm just adhering them to the top behind the hay, and I think they look really cute with the foam adhesive on the back. It's popping them up, so they're kind of a focal point there. And if you guys know what this is referencing at all, you know there's a little character, and I needed to create that character so the hey listen would make sense. So I just cut out a little circle here, and I am coloring it with a light blue, and then I'm taking a darker blue and just making a little circle in the middle, and then I'm going to blend that out with my lighter blue. So it kind of looks like a little glowing creature thing here. And then I do need to add wings, and I'm going to show you how I added wings. So super simple after I get this blended out here. So the way I added wings to this little guy is I found a little scrap piece of vellum, and you do not need very much, just a tiny little piece of vellum, and I cut it out, I folded it in half, and then I'm just going to freehand cut a few little wings. Now folding it in half is going to ensure that both of your wings are the same shape and size. It would be almost impossible to get both wings to look the same without folding it in half. And it's kind of like when you fold a piece of paper in half and cut a heart so you get both sides the same. Pretty much the same concept. So I cut out those two top wings, I cut out two smaller wings for the bottom, and I just glued them on. So as our little character here, I'm going to pop him up on some foam adhesive right over those letters. I think it looks really cute, and I think it helps make the sentiment make sense. So we've got him on there. I'm going to go ahead and pull the backing off of my characters here and adhere them down as well. I've got some foam adhesive on the back of my characters and popping them up on the sides as well. And then I'm going to go ahead, add a few more things, and finish off this card. It's a lot of die cuts, a lot of coloring and fussy cutting, but I love how the elements all come together to make a really big and fun card. So to pop this up on my card front, I am using some craft foam. This is like that kids craft foam that you can find at any craft store. I'm using it behind my front panel because, again, I want to save on foam adhesive, and this is going to give me some even support on the background, so it's not going to sag in any one area. Once I have that on the back of my card front, I'm going to adhere it to my card base by just adding some more Nouveau Deluxe glue, and I'm just going to get it centered and push it down, make sure it dries, and I'm going to have it popped up on my card base. I'm using some craft cardstock for my card base. It's cut down to an A10 size card. That's about 9 inches long and 4 inches wide. I wanted a long card because those letters were so big, and I just really wanted a nice big card to send out in the mail. I'm going to stamp out a supporting sentiment that'll go with that hey listen using a sentiment from the stamp set, and I'm going to emboss it in Brutus Monroe gilded embossing powder on black cardstock. I thought the black would kind of tie in with that hay that I die cut up on the top, and I thought it would just kind of pop out a little bit more against the green. So I went ahead and I cut that out, cut it down into little strips, and I'm going to just glue it down underneath the listen, and that's going to finish off the card. You might notice that I also hid a few little rupees in this card behind some of the letters and our little character there. I thought that was really fun to hide them in the grass, and if you want to see how I made those, just check out my previous video. I have how I made those little rubies. I just colored it on some white cardstock and added with a black marker the lines and the details, and I cut them out. So that is today's card. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you're getting a good look at Kindred stamps this week on my channel. Keep watching because I'm going to try to have some more videos for you. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share, tap the bell, and do all the things. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.